Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. What is going on? It is ya boy, Shawnee Sean. And it's Monday Night Football. And the Seattle Seahawks just got a safety. They're down 13 points with a minute to go. Gino just got a little banged up and threw an interception. Oh, that just happened. Oh, it was right out of the reach. And that is gonna send Seattle home. And now they are gonna be 3-1, and Detroit Lions are gonna get the win. Great pressure by Aiden Hutchinson all throughout the game. This was one of the more fun games this season so far. Really high scoring for both teams. Really pretty exciting throughout the whole thing. But Kirby Joseph with a game sealing interception for the Detroit Lions, and they are going to come home with victory. Tomorrow, I am going to be releasing my power rankings, and maybe I'll go live and talk about that then as well. So stay tuned for that. But in general, pretty fun week of football. Not so great for my Eagles, but nevertheless, the Titans get their first win of the seasons against the beaten up Miami Dolphins. Dolphins were without Tua and seemed like they were going to be without Tua for another week or two. And Will Levis actually got a little banged up in this game as well. But the Titans battle adversity and get their first win. Miami's offense really remains stuck in the mud without Tua. And even with Tua, I don't know. I don't think they've had a lead all season, so that's not a particularly good trend. It would be nice to lead a game and maybe even win a game if you're a Miami fan, but I don't know. Bill Callahan's offensive line is definitely starting to come together for the Titans. So that is very good for them, considering Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard both ran for a nice amount of yards. But that's pretty much all I got for that game. Just going into it, Will Levis suffers a first quarter shoulder injury. Titans still get the win. Mason Rudolph comes in, takes over, and does a pretty nice job. Goes 9 of 17 for 85 yards, so nothing too special, but, is we'll call it veteran backup quarterback. He's been around the league for a little bit, so nice to see him. And the Titans get their first dub. Let me know how you guys are doing in fantasy. As far as the Eagles and Bucks, very disappointing for the Eagles. That game looked super hot. I think they said that it felt like it was 109 degrees or something. I think they said it was like 98 total, but it was very hot. Baker was really cooking in the first half, and then they didn't really even need to do much in the second. So hopefully the Eagles can get things going in the future. They have a bye week really early, so that should help hopefully get things going. But if you ask me, it's all on Nick Sirianni and the coaching, so hopefully they can get those things straightened out. Although when guys like Bill Belichick and Mike Vrabel are available, it's also tempting for those. Damn, those are cool Lions jerseys. They have like the embroidering real big for the Lions on the chest. I got a little distracted there. What is this? Biggest challenge. Bills need to improve their run defense. Steelers need to survive the division. Texans need to get more consistency. Sam Darnold, I do sort of trust him, at least that for now. The thing that is the bigger surprise for Minnesota for me is that defense, which has really been surprising. I actually had, I'll call it, better expectations for Sam Darnold than most, I'd say. Mostly just because the wide receivers that they have when it comes to Jefferson and Addison. I like the weapons that they got, and even Aaron Jones. He's a little older, but they're clearly moving the ball well on offense. But I had no idea that their defense was going to be this good. But that ball placement and catch by Justin Jefferson for Minnesota was really incredible. Um, like Jefferson, that should have been an interception, that ball. But anyway, very excited to see how they've been doing. And shout out to Houston Texans. I know I was sort of just talking about them. Really love D'Amico Ryans. That defense really came to play and has been looking good. And it looks like they're really tapping into Stephon Diggs over the past few weeks. I think last week he threw for a touchdown. This week he ran for a touchdown. So it's nice that they're using him and getting a little creative. I'm a big Stephon Diggs fan, although I did trade him in one of my fantasy leagues. But in that league, I needed future capital. I lost by 1 point in fantasy, dude. I feel ya. I had a rough night tonight in one of my leagues. I was supposed to be winning, and DK Metcalf actually had a good game. I lost by 1.2 points here. And in this other league, sorry, I know you guys don't actually care about my fantasy teams. I lost by 12 in that one, but that guy had David Montgomery, so it was harder to catch up when he had a guy Brees and Addison for DK and B-Rob. Brees and Addison for DK. I mean, I would do that. I would definitely be trying to sell high on Brees right now and Addison. So, yeah, I would do DK and B-Rob. I actually like that. I'm just, as far as Brees, I'm really worried about Braylon Allen. I'm a big fan of his, the running back out of Wisconsin. One of the youngest player in the NFL right now, I'm pretty sure. But one of my favorite running backs in this year's draft, which was not a particularly great running back draft. But I really liked the landing position and the 1-2 punch that they have. But it seems like the Jets are starting to favor him. He just seems more efficient than Brees so far. And maybe that's just an anomaly of last week because they did not look particularly good. I mean, putting 9 points up against the Broncos, you got to do a little bit better than that if you're a two-time MVP like Aaron Rodgers. But I digress. It's nice to see Bo Nix and the Broncos get their first win. Nice to see him get his first passing touchdown to Cortland Sutton. It was literally all the way in the back of the end zone. But I like Bo Nix. It was really ridiculous. The first quarter or 2 quarters of that game, I think he had 7 for 15 completion percentage for -7 yards. It was I don't know how you have a 50% completion percentage basically for no yards. But anyway, it's a fun week in football. Still a lot of moving around as far as what my power rankings are probably going to look like. The Chiefs are still probably going to reign supreme, but they are definitely looking human or beatable right now. They have a lot of injuries as far as Rashee Rice getting hurt, Isaiah Pacheco getting hurt. They have all these wide receivers and running backs of guys that were really just outcasts as far as NFL. Kareem Hunt, no one really wanted him. Juju Smith-Schuster, nobody really wanted him. Xavier Worthy's really the only bright spot that they have, and it was pretty incredible seeing him get that 54-yard touchdown pass. But are him and Travis Kelce going to be sustainable for that offense? Luckily for them, their defense has really been incredible. So hopefully for Andy Reid and the Chiefs' sake, they can hold up. As far as the biggest surprise and excitement so far this season has really been the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. They've been really, Jaden Daniels has really been a pleasure to watch so far. I was really worried about them going into the season, especially when they traded Jahan Dotson. But it looks like it doesn't really matter about the offensive weapons that they have because Jaden Daniels is dishing in diamond, and they got a great win against the Bengals last week, and they got a great win against the Arizona Cardinals this week. Can you fix the PlayStation servers? I'm an Xbox guy, so I am not the guy for your PlayStation questions, so I'm sorry about that. Geno Smith, he actually had a decent game, really fought hard. Looked like he got a little banged up very late, so I hope he's going to be okay long term. But that pick was, more just playing hero ball late at the game. I don't know if you want to trade, but yeah, sure. Whatever you got. I'm trying to trade Jordan Addison or Keaton Allen in one of my dynasty leagues, so let me know if you're interested. I could use another quarterback. Yeah, but as far as the Washington Commanders, it's really just a matter of if that defense can hold up. And similar issue to what I was saying with Minnesota, although that defense has really been a pleasure to watch so far. I traded Garrett Wilson for Lamar in my other league. I think I'm winning the trade right now. If that's a super flex, then you're definitely doing a great job there. If it's a regular league, then I'd say Garrett Wilson still has a lot of value, but we'll see. Pittman looks broke. Yeah, I don't like Pittman so much this year. I was never so high on him, mostly just because Anthony Richardson doesn't really look down the field too much, although they have Joe Flacco coming in right now, so he might actually unleash that offense a little bit more, or at least the passing attack in that offense. You saw Downs look pretty good. And hopefully my guy A.D. Mitchell can get unleashed as well, because I haven't seen him do much yet this year. And I think he's a really intriguing prospect coming out of Georgia this past year. What was that? What are your thoughts on Brian Robinson this year? I love Brian Robinson this year. I was giving a lot of love to him in the preseason as well. I'm actually surprised. Eckler's been playing pretty well so far, but I think that he's really past his prime, and Brian Robinson is the go-to guy in Washington, especially since Tony Robinson is now with the New England Patriots, and he's been doing okay there. I think he scored a touchdown last week, so props to him. But in general, definitely love Brian Robinson this year, especially because he's not shot. He's healthy. He's coming back. And I just don't know what other offensive weapons that they really have on Washington. I really love Scary Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz is a little bit older at this point. Like I said, they traded Jahan Dotson. I don't even know if they really had that much faith and love on Jahan. But I am an Eagles fan. Wesley Hill, you guessed correctly. I know I'm not wearing any Eagles gear right now. I'm wearing my Pablo Sanchez shirt right now. Shout out Pablo, baby. The secret weapon. If you know, you know. Pablo, the backyard sports champ. He was the best at really all the sports, but especially baseball. Sorry to digress, but go Birds. They were disappointing this week, and it's tough. I don't want to make too many excuses when they don't have their two wide receivers, their best offensive right tackle, and a couple other injuries, but really a lot of the decision making was very poor on Nick Sirianni over the past few weeks. And it's really discerning because some of these things are correctable. The tackling could get much better. Some of the decision making, they're abandoning the run game in the first quarter. I do play fantasy. I do mostly dynasty fantasies, but I am in a year long league, and then I also do pick'ems and survivor pools, all that stuff. I am a football addict. If you check out, I got sorry for all the dirty stuff, but that's my home studio with all the cool footballs and all that fun stuff, and I've got a bunch of other Eagles shit all over my place. So go Birds. Sorry, I gotta do laundry. So if you saw literally a bag full of it's not that big of a pile of laundry. It's just sitting on top of a chair. So don't judge me too harshly there. But in general, we are 4 weeks into the NFL season. Lions beat the Seahawks tonight. The Titans get their first win against the Dolphins tonight. The Ravens beat the Bills last night. That was a pretty fun game. Derrick Henry ran for like 200 yards. The King is back. Hopefully he can, remain supreme, I guess. I don't know. That run game really seems to be going, though. And come on, give me my Zay Flowers. I love just saying that in general. Trade Amon-Ra and Goddard for A.J. Brown and Kelsey. I would hold on to Amon-Ra and Goddard right now just because AJ's hurt and Kelsey hasn't really done so much this season yet. I feel like Kelsey, just with his age right now, is mostly just waiting for the playoffs and kind of coasting throughout the season. He'll still get good numbers. But Goddard right now at least is going to be relied on in the Eagles, and Amon-Ra is really consistent, and I'd argue just as consistent. You're getting a 1-for-1 with Amon-Ra and AJ, and then Goddard, you would be in you are improving with Kelsey, I guess, to some level, but I don't know. I feel like, hold on, do you think Kelsey's numbers? I mean, I do think Kelsey's numbers will get better. He's definitely going to get more targets. He's got to. Him, Carson Steele, Xavier Worthy, even Juju Smith. Honestly, I would try to get Juju Smith if he's a free agent, or even just trade one of your bench guys for him if you're really desperate. Because the injuries in Kansas City are definitely starting to pile up. Let's see, what else are we talking about? Nico Collins had a pretty nice game. So we'll see how he does. As far as some guys that are struggling lately, Jalen Hurts, not his best game. Breece Hall, not his best game. The Cleveland Browns, honestly, they kind of lost the game for Deshaun Watson, and a lot of the time earlier this year it's been the other way around, it feels like. So we'll see how that is. I'm not too crazy about Mark Andrews this year. You saw in week 1, Isaiah Likely is definitely starting to emerge as a target. I think Andrews is still a top 10 tight end in the league, but I don't know if he's necessarily getting those top 5 fantasy numbers like he used to. Broncos D, top 5, or is Saleh the problem? I don't think it's either, really. I think Broncos defense is definitely good. I wouldn't say top 5, maybe top 10. Definitely top half. They definitely deserve more credit than they get. Pat Surtain's one of the best in the league, and then they also had another safety who's really good. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think he had an interception this weekend. But Saleh is definitely not an offensive minded guy. And I don't know what they were doing on offense with the Jets this past week. They just couldn't move the ball or get in the end zone. And you think that Aaron Rodgers should be able to solve some of those problems, but I don't know. I guess he couldn't take care of Sean Payton's team, so we'll see how the Jets do going forward. But I still have them as a fringe wild card playoff team. So we'll see how things play out with them. But they, this is still Rodgers' basically first few weeks with the team, so things are still developing rapidly with them. Ayuk has been off to a rough start. Do you think he'll do better? I definitely do think he'll do a little bit better. The San Francisco's just been a little weird to evaluate without CMC. So we'll see, especially once he gets back. But you're right. I mean, Debo's actually been having a pretty nice impact so far. They also have Ricky Pearsall now in the fold. So definitely less targets to go to Ayuk specifically. But we'll see how things develop in San Fran. I definitely he's got the talent. And maybe he's just enjoying the money that he's got, but I think he'll turn it up. He's got plenty of time to do all right. But CMC is not coming back. He has it both Achilles. I don't know. I've seen rumors that he might be back in a week or two, so I could be wrong. But you might be right as well. So we'll see how CMC develops. But the backup's actually been doing pretty good. So I don't want to discount him too much. What else? What other games are we talking about? Honestly, the Chargers should have beat the Chiefs. It's surprising that they didn't. But the Chiefs are resilient and still the better team. Good trade. Amon Ra for Bijan and Johnson. Trade me Amon Ra for Bijan. I mean, Quinion Johnson's worthless in my opinion. I'd rather have Amon Ra. Although I don't know what your running back situation is. Maybe you're pretty desperate for Bijan. And Bijan would be a super nice get. Fields or Stroud next week. I would do Stroud next week. Although, let's see the matchups. Texans are playing the Bills, and the Steelers are playing the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? How about the Cowboys? I'd still take Stroud though. And what about Tyreek? Yeah, I mean, right now with Tyreek and Waddle is really tough with the quarterback situation. Um, I mean, until Tua gets back or they trade for a guy, I don't know what Miami's really doing long term or short term, long term. I mean, even long term because Tua might be gone for a while. It's really sad to see what's happened with all those concussions. Commander. All right, back to these though. Niners take care of the Patriots, easy win. Commanders take care of the Cardinals. Broncos beat the Jets. Colts eke out a win against the Steelers. Nice save for Jose Flacco. The man still got it, even though he's in his mid 40s. Like I was just mentioning before, the Texans beat the Jags. And the Jags are 0-4, so it might be time to hit the panic button. I don't know what is going on with the Jaguars right now because they seem to be moving the ball, but Trevor Lawrence is really seemed to be struggling. He's turning the ball over at an alarming rate, and some of these turnovers are very much his fault. So we'll see how things go with the Jacksonville Jaguars and if they can get their first win next week. Let's see. ETN for Pittman and Singletary. A couple years ago, I traded Pittman for ETN, so I would hold on to ETN. Although Singletary's actually been really nice, and Pittman with Joe Flacco is actually a nice combo and could unleash the Colts passing game. So, I mean, again, depending on how your team is, you could sort of go either way. But I personally like ETN more than Pittman. What else are we got here? Go on the waiver wire since Rashee Rice is hurt. If you're going on the waiver wire, see if you can get Juju, see if you can get Bucky Irving, see if you can get Braylon Allen, see if you can get let's see if there's a wide receiver that's like Dontavion Wicks from the Packers. Those are all some streamlined guys that are probably available, honestly. Maybe even trade for like a Chuba Hubbard or Deontay. Xavier Leggett might be available in some leagues. Some guys that might be emerging. A lot of the time you want to get some of these rookies as they're emerging or real young. So you want to take advantage of it. Some of these guys really haven't really tapped into their potential yet, and it takes some time to develop as a rookie. But even with that, you might even want to target some of these guys in some of your leagues, like Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Worthy. All three of these guys have really shown a lot of promise so far. Some guys that are rookies that haven't really shown the production that you want so far, but are still guys that you might want. Guys like Roma Dunze. You're seeing Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison really start to produce over the past few weeks. But some teams or some managers might not be valuing these young guys as much as you should be. I love Zay Flowers. I would definitely be targeting him in pretty much all your leagues. Got to give me my Zay Flowers, baby. Bro, what was that? I want to see that. I traded Gibbs and Aaron Jones for Ridley and Hopkins. Yeah, you definitely messed up there. I love Gibbs this year. Gibbs and Montgomery. That running game in Detroit is fierce. They really just want to run the ball down people's throats, and it really opens everything up. I mean, you see Jamison Williams just go out for a freaking bomb of a touchdown. It's awesome. I really am a big fan of the Lions this year. They're a pleasure to watch. I love Dan Campbell and his I don't know, aggressive attitude, I guess. And it seems to work out with him. And it's nice to see the resurgence of Jared Goff. They've really been cooking. So shout out to Detroit and all the Lions fans. King Henry for CMC. I'm 4-4. King Henry for CMC. If that's a season long, then I would definitely do that. But if that is a dynasty, then I'm holding on to CMC. So I hope that helps with you there. On Thursday Night Football, the Cowboys beat the Giants. Not a handed win, but nice to see them both kind of beat up on each other as Micah Parsons gets a little banged up and seems to be out for a couple weeks. So that's a slight silver lining for the Eagles. But again, the Eagles got swamped in Tampa. So hopefully over the bye week they can right their wrongs and get things going in the right direction. What else we got? Will Levis is undergoing an MRI on his shoulder. So we'll see as far as his health. Should I trade Rashid for Amari Cooper? Yeah. I mean, even though Rashid's... Yeah, no, I would do that. Amari Cooper's the number one in Cleveland. And Idard... yeah. Rashid Shaheed seems more like just the flavor of the month. Alexander Madison might be someone who is worth trading for. I definitely like him. Going forward, it seems like he's been the most efficient running back for the Raiders. What else do we have here? Tyler Batty is in full, or Bidet, I think is actually how you really pronounce it, is in full movement after suffering a pretty scary injury. So good to hear about that. Jordan Love looked like he rushed back from his injury for the Packers, which is sort of disappointing because Malik Willis was actually kind of cooking for them. I thought that they probably should have sat Love for another week, but we'll see how he does going forward. I think that it really just took him the first half to really knock off the rust, but we'll see how he does going forward. Travis Kelce definitely has a little bit of a bounce back, but again, that was more just out of necessity. Derrick Henry had 199 yards for the Ravens. and really starts to show the potential of what that Ravens offense could be. Jaguars are 0-4. Doug Peterson, is he on a hot seat? Is it on Trevor Lawrence? A lot of questions as far as what's happening in Duval. Commanders OC Cliff Kingsbury gets the game ball for the Commanders, and really seems to be cooking with Jaden Daniels and that offense in Washington. So nice to see him sort of land back on his feet after getting fired in Arizona, and then having his college offenses critiqued, I guess. What else we got here? Baker said that he changed his pants at halftime because it was so hot in Tampa. Aaron Jones was denied a Lambeau leap in his win against the Packers. Trade Adams, Dobbins, and Ford for Smitty and Reek. Trade Adams, Dobbins, and Ford for Smitty and Reek. I want Smitty and Reek. Even though Tyreek isn't really getting so many great opportunities without Tua. But Dobbins and Adams, actually no, hold on to what you got right now, especially because Smitty's hurt. But maybe in another week reevaluate that. Tell him to wait a week. Love me some Brian Robinson for Jacobs and Worthy. Josh Jacobs and Worthy? And this is Brian Robinson? I mean, I'm taking Jacobs and Worthy all day, if that's your offer. Josh Jacobs and Xavier Worthy, take that in a heartbeat. If someone wants Brian Robinson, it's one thing if it's Bijan Robinson, which is still something that you're probably trading for Jacobs and Worthy, but I don't know. Let me know what you are thinking. Probably gonna wrap things up in another minute or two. Really unfortunate. Rashee Rice is out for the season with an ACL. He's gonna undergo an MRI, but ACLs are never looking good as far as returning anytime sooner than 9 months. Trade processing, what do you think? Shaheed for Chuba and K9. If you need a quarterback, then that's not so bad. I'm not crazy on Shaheed, so I would sell high on him while you can. Brian Robinson scored 10 to 20 every week. That's what I'm saying. I love Brian Robinson. I'm a big fan of his. But you're getting great value in return if you're getting Josh Jacobs and Xavier Worthy. I mean, I don't know the rest of your team. Maybe you need one guy. Maybe you need two guys. Traded Cooper, Dak, and Ertz for McBride and Debo and Ford. That's not so bad. It's pretty even both ways. I mean, one of you guys probably needed a quarterback. Daniel is my backup quarterback. I mean, that's not great. Daniels is kind of trash. But as if Malik Neighbors is cooking, then like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Who should I start, CJ or Daniels? Now that is interesting. Daniels, I was looking, is going against the Bills, and the Commanders are going against the Browns. You know what? I might go with Jaden Daniels, honestly. Jaden Daniels has been cooking in that Cliff Kingsbury offense. And the Browns defense in particular has been struggling the past week or two. So I might take advantage of what I think might be a slight mismatch there, especially because the Bills defense is actually very good and trying to get a little bit of a bounce back. So I think they're going to show up against the Texans. The Texans have a little bit of a target on their back since C.J. Stroud just had such a good rookie season, and now that they have Stephon Diggs, and this will be the Stephon Diggs revenge game next week when he comes back to Buffalo, or vice versa. Maybe they're going to Texas. Yeah, it looks like it's in Texas, so I was wrong about that. Sorry about that. Anyway, Pitts put up a fat zero. Yeah, Pitts is looking like he might be a bust, honestly. I was never a huge fan of Pitts. At least when he was coming out of the draft, I think he was being really overhyped. I feel like every 2-3 years in the draft, you hear about like this game changing tight end. And I very much believed the hype with Brock Bowers this particular year, and very much am buying into the hype so far. So shout out to Brock Bowers. But you heard it about O.J. Howard. You heard about Kyle Pitts. You heard it about Dalton Kincaid, who's actually starting to live up to the hype. You heard it about Michael Mayer, who didn't really play so well his rookie season, and now is basically an afterthought now that the Raiders have Brock Bowers. But as far as the tight end position, it's definitely one of the harder positions to address in fantasy football, especially. So if you can get Laporta or Kelsey, you're usually in pretty good hands. I love me some Kittle. He's real consistent. And nice to see Swift have a good game this week. Even though he was on the bench of my fantasy team. And I think I actually ended up losing. But Kincaid's really starting to produce, at least on a more consistent basis. But somewhat surprising that he's not eating up on a weekly basis, considering that they don't have Stephon Diggs or Gabe Davis anymore. So, at least preseason, I was thinking that Kincaid was going to be getting a lot of those targets, and hopefully Keon Coleman can start to eat up some of those in Buffalo. Shakir's not so bad, but I don't know. Montgomery and Nico for Gibbs and Marv Jr. Montgomery and Nico for Gibbs and Marv Jr. That's more pick your poison. I kind of lean more towards Gibbs and Marv, but that's more just because I play Dynasty, so I value the youth probably more there. But I think Gibbs is more explosive and going to get you more big-time yards, where Montgomery is that goal line guy, and still going to get a lot of touchdowns. And Nico and Marv are both number one targets. Nico's just sort of competing for somewhat more targets with the fact that Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs are there. Ooh, just traded J.K. Dobbins for Mike Evans. I'm loving that for you, bro. Mike Evans has been cooking this year. Baker really unleashes like the fountain of youth for Mike Evans. The past 2 years, he's been looking great, and there's no stopping. The first week of the season this year, Baker really looked like he had vintage Mike Evans. He had 2 touchdowns, and just a beautiful performance. So the Bucks have really been a pleasant surprise for me so far this season. So we'll see. Any waiver wire running back, if you have Hill, Hall, and Mixon, you should definitely get Braylon Allen if you can. Miles Sanders maybe. I'm trying to think. Carson Steele's probably available in some leagues. Rashawn Johnson, the backup running back in for Chicago, is a decent option. I'm trying to think. Emmanuel Wilson, that's really deep. He's not really going to get touches. Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving are really my best 2 recommendations if you really need to get a running back. Maybe Estime, I think is his name. He's a rookie running back in for the Broncos from Notre Dame. He might get some touches since a different running back of theirs, Bidet, got hurt. So we'll see. Aaron Jones, I can't keep up with some of these questions. Aaron Jones or Rashid Shaheed? I have Mason, Brees, and Kyron. I would take Aaron Jones or value him more over Rashid Shaheed. Trade Ayuk for Zay. I would trade Ayuk for Zay. I'm a big Zay Flowers fan. He's pretty much the only and number one target in Baltimore, in my opinion. I really like their tight ends that they got, and Lamar and Henry are awesome. But as far as the pass game, that's Zay Flowers. Bateman's not so bad, and I think they have the rookie from UNC who's not too bad, but he hasn't really done anything yet. So we'll see. Brian Thomas Jr. for Tyreek. I got Neighbors, CD, and Debo. Now that is interesting. I love me some Brian Thomas Jr. And without Tua, that is definitely something to think about. If it's a season long, I'm doing that trade. If it's a dynasty, I think I'm doing that trade. Yeah, I think Brian Thomas Jr. for Tyreek is very tempting. You know what? Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna do this trade value thing. Let's see what this is. Hold on. Brian Thomas Jr. for Tyreek Hill. Yeah, it's about even, and at that point, I'm going with the youth. So I say Brian Thomas Jr. If you can get him for Tyreek Hill, do it right now. Send in the offer and hope that he accepts. Bowers for Cooper. I have McBride. So you're actually in a decent position for your tight end. I don't know who your backup is, but I love me some Bowers. So any shares of Bowers that you can get is worth it. I do like Amari Cooper, but if you have depth at wide receiver, then it's not the worst thing to sell and get some depth at tight end, a much more valuable depth position, I guess is what I'm trying to say. What do you think, Brees and Tyreek? What, Brees for Tyreek? I don't know what you're asking there. Trade Neighbors and Wilson for Amon-Ra and Deontay Johnson. Trade Neighbors and Wilson. Hold on to Neighbors and Wilson. Fuck Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson had a nice touchdown this week. And Andy Dalton's show is exciting for a week or two, but they're gonna come back down to earth, and Carolina's just not that talented of a team, and they're gonna be a top 5 pick when it comes to April and draft season. So hopefully they can get some more help for Bryce Young and my guy Xavier Legette, who got in the end zone for the first time this week. Let's go. He was riding his bull, dollar bill, dollar bill. I don't know if you've heard him talk, but he's got that real thick country accent. But love me some Xavier Legette. And, it's exciting to see the Panthers put some points up on the board, even though they are 1-3 and they lose to the Bengals. And have the same record as the Bengals, surprisingly. So hopefully the Bengals can start stacking some dubs, because it has been very disappointing for Joe Burrow and the Bengals this season so far. That touchdown to Jamar Chase was awesome, though. Him and T. Higgins were just running side by side. It was like having an escort. What do I do about Breece Hall 4-point game and Tyreek with no Tua? You try trading them, or you look to the waiver wire. I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling you to look at Bucky Irving or Braylon Allen. I'm telling you to try to pick up Carson Steele. Some of these guys, maybe Juju. They're scraps, but there's probably the best guys that are available. Dontavion Wicks, the wide receiver for the Packers, is definitely someone who might be a little bit intriguing. Is Johnny Brooks going to be the RB1? He will be next year. This year he might be by like week 10, but I don't know if he's really going to take that many carries from Chuba and Miles Sanders this year, at least for the next few weeks. He's still coming off an ACL and hasn't played in the NFL, so it's going to take a couple weeks for him to really get acclimated to the speed of the NFL, to really test that new ACL. So I don't know exactly what his timetable is as far as his short term return, but I wouldn't see him being the RB1 really this year for fantasy purposes. But I could be wrong. He could dominate and change that Panthers offense completely. What do I do with Pacheco? If it's a dynasty, you hold on to him, put him on your IR. But if it's season long, you hope that you have Carson Steele or Kareem Hunt or Luis Reese Zamet, who I think is actually on the Jags right now, or their practice squad, but I don't know. He was with them over the summer. Kyron and Jameson for Chuba and Jaden Reed. Kyron and Jameson for Chuba and Jaden Reed. Hold on to Kyron and Jamerson. Swift for Mike Evans. I would trade Swift for Mike Evans. Unless it's like a super running back friendly league or like you just have no running back depth. But I love me some Mike Evans. Baker loves looking at his way, so I would definitely consider that. 0-4 CMC Bijan. I can't keep up with all these at the same time. But let me know your fantasy questions. 0-4 Bijan, Jamar Chase. Yeah. Colorado or Kansas State. I like Colorado. Give me Coach Prime Time, baby. Travis Hunter, sweet. Shondor Sanders. Didn't think I was going to be talking about college football. And I'm not actually the most educated on college football, but big fan of Oregon. My cousins went there. I went to West Virginia for a couple years and actually worked with the football team for a year or two. So love me some Geno Smith, Tavon Austin. Those guys are awesome. And big fan of Ohio State, Georgia, LSU. Really just like the teams that make NFL players, but don't really have huge preferences. I still like Michigan players too, and USC. All those. Akine, Walker, Debo. I don't know. Darnold instead of Burrow to try trade rumors for a better flex. Darnold's definitely intriguing. Let's see who they're both playing next week. Darnold's playing the Jets, so that should be a revenge game. Should be very fun, and probably going to start him, especially because Burrow's playing the Ravens. Yeah, you start Sam Darnold over over Joe Burrow next week, as crazy as that may sound. Sam Darnold's getting that revenge game over the Jets, and Jay Jettas has been looking incredible. Not to mention Addison looked very good in his return this week with 2 touchdowns. So I really like a potential revenge game for Sam Darnold against the Jets. Brees and Kmet for Pat Mahomes, Kelsey, and Kareem. Brees and Kmet for Holmes, Kelsey. I'm taking Mahomes, Kelsey, and Kareem. I think. Yeah. I don't know what your running back situation is outside of Brees, but he hasn't really performing well. Kmet is an afterthought, if I'm being completely honest. You're getting a huge upgrade if you're getting Kelsey there. And it sounds like you probably could use a quarterback if you're trying to get Mahomes, and even if not, Mahomes is probably the best quarterback you could get. So, look to trade Bijan. If it's a season long, I definitely consider trading Bijan. If it's a dynasty, I'm holding on to him. Bijan is a player that you can rarely get a hold of in dynasty, and you don't want to ever really let go of a guy like that. You kind of want to hold on to him his entire career, especially at running backs where it's hard to get an elite guy. So definitely hold on to Bijan long term. But if it's a season long, then it's definitely considering, if you can get Saquon, if you can get Amon-Ra St. Brown, then, something to definitely consider. Braylon Allen. I also have Braylon Allen and Devin Singletary. If you've been following or listening to this, I love Braylon Allen and Singletary. Singletary's got such a nice bend on his ankle that I never really noticed when he was with Buffalo, but he really has this nice like low center of gravity, and then just like this shift. It's actually been a pleasure to watch him run the ball with the Giants, which I don't know, I didn't expect to say, but he's been doing pretty well this season. Allen's definitely been eating up and being more efficient than Braylon Allen, so watch out for that. It's not a great situation. I mean, it's great for me because I have shares of Braylon Allen in like 2 or 3 of my fantasy leagues. Him and Bucky Irving were guys that were rookie running backs in situations that I really liked going into the season, and it's really starting to play out. So give me my Zay Flowers, baby. And also really surprised to see how efficient Brock Bowers has been over the past few weeks. I think over the first 2 weeks of the season, he was targeted more than any other rookie tight end in the first 2 weeks of their career. So really props to my guy Brock Bowers. Hopefully he can continue to develop and produce for the Raiders, considering they don't really have that much offensive talent. And it really seems like Minshew's kind of holding them back, so hopefully they can get a quarterback going for them long term. And it seems like they might even trade Adams at some point this season, so that is very much on the table. Should I give up Dobbins, Ayuk, and Pitts for McBride and Robinson Jr.? I would hold on to the guys that you have, even though I do like Brian Robinson Jr. I don't care so much for McBride. A lot of other guys probably hype him up more than him, or value him more than me. Yeah, I mean he's a good tight end, but he's not a top 5 tight end. Like, he gets some love, in my opinion. Kittle's still better. Andrews is still better. Kelsey's still better. Kincaid's still better. Bowers is still better. Like, I just named 6-7 guys there. Hawkinson's still better. Laporte is still better. So, he's Trey McBride is very much an afterthought, if you ask me. He's a top half tight end. He's very good, but he's not a consistent on a week-to-week basis. And now that they have Marvin Harrison Jr. in that offense, I think as the season goes on, he's just going to be getting more and more targets and eating away from Trey McBride. Though, there's still plenty of targets to eat for both of them. So, I like Hawkinson. I think that he's better than Trey McBride is pretty much what I was saying. I just named 8 tight ends that I think I like more. I'd even say Goddard potentially. I know he's older, so maybe not as productive. Mixon and Olave for Bijan, Cooper, and Rome. Mixon and Olave for Bijan, Cooper. I'd consider that. If you need depth, I would definitely do that. So we'll see. The fuck, trading Marv for Nick Chubb? No one's trading Marv for Nick Chubb. But if it's a piece, then maybe. Just lost Rashi Rice. Yeah, that's tough. Look to see if you can get Juju on the waiver wire. I think that's your best replacement, and he's probably available. You still got, of course, you got to start Worthy this week. He's the only guy they're throwing to. You saw Pat Mahomes had a 50-yard bomb to him. That's sometimes all that the Chiefs are going to need to win games, because that's literally all they needed last week. They didn't really deserve to beat the Chargers this week. It was, 17-10? It wasn't a particularly ground-breaking performance, but the Chiefs' defense has really stepped up and bailed Pat Mahomes and the offense out for a couple games. But that offense keeps sustaining injuries and loses guys and free agents, so we'll see how things go. Do you think Burrow and Smith for Pacheco, Love, and Allen is good? Do I think Burrow and Smith for Pacheco, Love, and Allen is good? I mean, Pacheco's hurt, so I don't know if you want a hurt player. It's hard to really evaluate. But Love's coming back. The Love Burrow, I definitely like Burrow more than Love. Smith, I like more than Allen. But Pacheco's definitely, the I guess, uh, cherry on top in that situation. So if it's a dynasty, then go for it. But I don't know. I don't know if you want to trade your quarterback in a dynasty like that. Thoughts on Neighbors and Laporta for CD and G Wilson? I kind of want CD and G Wilson in that situation. Do I? Do I? Let me think about that. Let me think about that for a second. Laporta. And Neighbors for Wilson and Lamb. Yeah, I think I like Wilson and Lamb still. I think that's the move. Go with that. Someone offered me Garrett Wilson and Stafford for Rashee Rice and Pacheco. Someone offered me Garrett Wilson and Stafford for Rice and Pacheco. I mean, take Garrett Wilson and Stafford, bro. Take advantage of it. I don't know. I guess that guy's tanking or something. But I would take that in a heartbeat right now. Pacheco and Rice are decent players, but Garrett Wilson is a blue chip player that you're going to want for the next 10 years, where Rashee Rice and Pacheco might fizzle out in, we'll call it like 2 or 3. NFL stands for not for long, and a lot of these guys, you might think they're on the top of the world. They're scoring 3 touchdowns this weekend, but they might be out of the league in 2-3 years for all you know. So it's the reality of the league. It's very sad and unfortunate, but that's what you got to deal with. But yeah, I would target Garrett Wilson if you could, honestly. Same thing for Marvin Harrison Jr., CeeDee Lamb. If you can get shares of these guys, go for it. I love me Brian Robinson, Dobbins and Robinson for Montgomery. I don't think it's worth it. Hold on to Dobinson and Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson scoring 20 points a game this year so far, so hold on to him. It seems like there's no slowing him down, even when Austin Eckler's getting involved. So that's my thoughts on that. But I'm getting tired. It's past midnight, and I got work tomorrow, and I got a haircut in the morning. Even though it doesn't actually look like I need a haircut, maybe as bad as I think I do. But let me know. What can I get for Mahomes in Dynasty? You could probably get 2 first-round picks if it's a super flex, at least. I don't know. It depends what your team's doing. But in a regular league, maybe just a pick, maybe a first-round pick for Mahomes. You could probably downgrade and get a better... see if you can get Jahmyr Gibbs. I feel like that's someone I would trade Mahomes for. Anyway, peace out. Shawnee Football. Check me out. Maybe I'll chop some of these up. Maybe you'll be part of it. And I think I'm going to go live again tomorrow night with all my... what's it called? Power rankings. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you next time. Peace, love, and happiness. And go Birds. Even though we're on the bye week. And yeah, we're done on TikTok, and now we're done online on the YouTubes. So I hope you enjoyed. I don't know if anyone was actually on YouTube, but hope you streamed, hope you enjoyed, hope you follow Shawnee Football for more, and we'll see you next time. Give me my balloons. Bye-bye.